They say God answers some prayers by making you miss your train. This is the story of Catherine Moore, who got off at the wrong station on Christmas Eve and found a family that had been praying for a miracle they didn't know how to ask for. Catherine's boot touched frozen wood as the train's whistle faded into white silence. She clutched the crumpled letter, Silver Falls, not Redemption Creek. She watched her only escape disappear into the blizzard. The platform stood empty except for wind and regret. Her carpetbag felt heavier with each passing second. The next train wouldn't come until the day after Christmas. 3 days stranded with no money, no shelter, and a mail-order husband expecting her 50 miles north. "Ma'am," she turned toward the voice. A man stood beside a freight wagon, broad-shouldered beneath a worn coat. A small boy held his hand, head tilted slightly as though listening to the world rather than seeing it. "You waiting on someone?" the man asked. His tone carried no warmth, only tired courtesy. "I made a mistake," Catherine said. Her voice came steadier than she felt. "Wrong station." The boy's face brightened. "Are you lost?" Quote, "I suppose I am, sweetheart." The man's jaw tightened at the endearment. "Next train's not till the 26th. Town's 4 miles south, but nothing's open Christmas Eve." Catherine looked down the empty road, then back at the departing train tracks. Snow began falling harder. The boy shivered despite his thick coat. "Before we go on, tell me in the comments where you're watching from." "Papa," the child said softly. "She sounds warm, like Mama did, like fresh bread." The man went still. Something flickered across his face. Pain, longing, fear, then vanished behind stone. "Samuel, hush now." But Samuel reached toward Catherine's voice with small, careful hands. His eyes didn't focus quite right. Catherine understood then. The boy was blind. "I'm Jacob Thornton," the man said reluctantly. "Thorn Ranch. My housekeeper left to visit family for Christmas. I need help with cooking, basic housework. 2 days. I'll pay your train fare north after." It wasn't charity. It was transaction. Catherine recognized the distinction and appreciated it. "Catherine Moore," she replied. "I accept." Jacob lifted her carpetbag into the wagon without another word. Samuel climbed up, then extended his hand to help Catherine. His small fingers were warm despite the cold. "God sent you," Samuel whispered as they settled onto the bench. "I just know it." Quote. Jacob snapped the reins sharply. The wagon lurched forward across white prairie. In the distance, a grand house rose against gray sky, all wood and prosperity. But somehow it looked as cold as the snow surrounding it. Catherine pulled her thin coat tighter. She had come west seeking a future with a stranger. Instead, she had found two. The house swallowed sound. Catherine's footsteps echoed on polished floors, where laughter should have lived but didn't. Jacob gave her a brief tour with words that held no feeling. Kitchen, pantry, your room upstairs. Each sentence landed like a door closing. Samuel navigated beside them, touching walls and door frames with the practiced ease of someone who had memorized every inch of home. The furniture was expensive. Velvet chairs, carved tables, oil lamps with crystal chimneys, but dust covered everything. The curtains stayed drawn. A Christmas tree stood in the sitting room, decorated with care yet radiating loneliness. "Mrs. Davies left instructions," Jacob said, gesturing to papers on the kitchen table. "Meals, routines, supplies. Simple enough." Catherine scanned the notes. The housekeeper's handwriting was neat, efficient, tinged with concern. The final line read, "Mr. Thornton is a good man carrying heavy grief. Samuel needs joy. Please try." In the pantry, Catherine found an apron hanging on a hook. She touched the fabric, worn cotton, faded blue, smelling faintly of lavender. A woman's apron, unused for years. "That was my wife's," Jacob said from behind her. His voice had gone hollow. "May I wear it?" Quote. He stared at the apron for long seconds, jaw working. Finally, he nodded once and walked away. Samuel appeared at Catherine's elbow. "Papa doesn't talk about Mama much, but I remember her singing. Do you know any songs?" Quote. "A few," Catherine said gently. Will you sing while we set the table? Quote, She chose Silent Night because it felt safe, peaceful. Her voice was soft but true. Samuel hummed along, his small face peaceful as he counted out silverware by touch. Jacob appeared in the kitchen doorway. He went rigid as stone, color draining from his face. That's enough, he said hoarsely, then disappeared. Samuel's hands stilled. That was Mama's favorite, he whispered. Papa can't hear it without hurting. Later, Dutch, the ranch foreman, stopped by to drop off firewood. He was 60-some, weathered as leather, eyes kind beneath bushy brows. You're a brave woman taking this job, he said quietly while Jacob was outside. Mr. Thornton's been dead inside since Anne passed. 3 years now. Still can't hear her favorite carol without falling apart. What happened? Catherine asked. Childbirth. Lost both her and the baby. Dutch's voice softened with old sorrow. Jacob blamed himself. Wanted another child. Got death instead. Been living like a ghost ever since. That night, Catherine lay in the guest room listening to the house settle. She heard footsteps pause outside Samuel's door. Heard Jacob's voice murmuring something too quiet to distinguish. Then Samuel's voice, clear and certain in the darkness. Dear God, Papa's so lonely. Please send us a mama for Christmas. Please. Amen. Catherine pressed her hand to her heart. She understood now. This wasn't just employment. This was a house of ghosts, desperately needing life again. Dawn broke gray and hesitant. Catherine woke before sunrise, habits from farm life guiding her. She descended to find Samuel already in the kitchen, navigating with perfect confidence despite darkness. He had dressed himself, shirt slightly crooked, one sock higher than the other, and was feeling along the counter toward the stove. Good morning, Catherine said softly, not wanting to startle him. Samuel's face lit up. Miss Catherine, I wanted to help make breakfast. That's very kind. She guided his hand to a chair. But let me handle the hot stove. You can set the table again. They worked in companionable silence. Samuel counted out 3 plates, 3 cups, 3 sets of silverware with careful precision. When he finished, he turned toward Catherine with heartbreaking directness. Will you stay forever? Quote. Catherine's throat tightened. She knelt beside his chair. Samuel, I'm only here until after Christmas. Then I have to go to Silver Falls. There's a man there expecting me. A man I promised to marry. But why? Samuel's voice trembled. Papa has lots of room and we need... He stopped, lower lip quivering. I prayed so hard. I know, sweetheart. Did I pray wrong? Should I have asked different? Quote. Catherine pulled him into a gentle embrace. You prayed perfectly. Sometimes grown-ups make promises before they know where they truly belong. I have to honor my word. Samuel didn't cry, but his small body shook. He pulled away and walked carefully back to his room, shoulders rigid with disappointment. Jacob appeared in the kitchen doorway. What happened? Quote, The truth, Catherine said quietly. He asked if I'd stay forever. I told him I couldn't. Jacob's expression remained unreadable. Good, better he knows now, but his hands clenched at his sides, knuckles white. The day passed in careful silence. Catherine cooked and cleaned while Jacob worked outside. Samuel stayed in his room, emerging only when called. The joy from yesterday had vanished, replaced by the house's familiar coldness. That evening, as Catherine kneaded bread dough, Jacob entered the kitchen. He stood awkwardly, hat in hand. I need to tell you something, he said. About Anne. Catherine wiped her hands on the apron, his wife's apron, and waited. She died giving birth to our second child, a daughter. Jacob's voice was rough. The doctor warned us another pregnancy was dangerous, but Anne wanted Samuel to have a sibling. I should have refused. Should have protected her. You can't know that would have changed anything. Quote, I know I killed my wife by being selfish. The words came harsh, self-condemning. I wanted another child and I lost everything. That's why I can't. He stopped, jaw working. Samuel deserves better than a father who's half alive, but I don't know how to be whole again. Catherine moved closer. "You're surviving. That takes courage, too." Quote, "Is it, or is it cowardice?" Jacob met her eyes. "You came here by accident, and in 2 days you've brought more life to this house than I've managed in 3 years. Samuel laughs with you. He hopes. And tomorrow you'll leave, and I'll have taught him another lesson about loss." "What do you want me to do?" Catherine's voice shook. "Break a promise to a man who's waiting for me? Stay here out of pity?" Quote, "I don't want your pity." Jacob's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I want—" He couldn't finish. The longing in his eyes said everything his mouth couldn't. Footsteps on the stairs made them step apart. Samuel appeared, moving slowly, carefully. His small face was set with determination. "Papa, I need to say something." Jacob knelt. "What is it, son?" Quote, "I know Miss Catherine has to leave. I know she made a promise." Samuel's voice quavered, but held steady. "But I prayed for God to send us a mama for Christmas. And he sent her to the wrong station, so she'd come here instead. That means something, doesn't it?" Quote, "Samuel!" "I'm not done, Papa." The boy's hands found his father's face, touching gently. "Mama's been gone 3 years. I still remember her voice, her songs, how she smelled like lavender. But, Papa, she's not coming back. And you're so sad all the time. Don't you think Mama would want us to be happy again?" Quote, Jacob's breath caught. Tears tracked down his weathered face. "I think Mama sent Miss Catherine," Samuel continued. "I think she knew we needed help, and she asked God to send someone kind. Someone who sings her favorite songs, and wears her apron and makes you smile again." Catherine's own tears fell freely now. The wisdom in this blind child's words cut deeper than any sermon. "So I'm asking, Papa, really asking." Samuel's voice broke. "Can we ask her to stay, please? Not because I prayed for it, but because we need her. Because she fits here. Because love doesn't have to mean losing, it can mean finding, too." Quote, Jacob pulled his son close, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. 3 years of grief poured out in that embrace. Catherine watched, her heart breaking and mending simultaneously. When Jacob finally spoke, his voice was raw. "Samuel, it's not that simple. Miss Catherine made a promise to another man. We can't ask her to break that." "Why not?" Samuel pulled back. "That man doesn't know her, doesn't love her yet. But we do. We already do." The words hung in the air, truth spoken with the clarity only children possess. Jacob stood slowly. He turned to Catherine, and in his eyes she saw everything, fear and hope warring, love trying to break through walls built from grief. "He's right," Jacob said quietly. "We have no right to ask. But if we did, if I could find the courage." He took a shaking breath. "Catherine, would you consider staying, not as hired help, as my wife, as Samuel's mother, as the answer to a prayer I was too broken to pray myself?" Quote, Catherine's world tilted. The train ticket north suddenly felt like a chain. The promise to a stranger weighed against the love growing in this cold house, trying desperately to warm again. "Jacob, The sound of hoofbeats cut through the night. Urgent, fast, wrong. Jacob moved to the window. A rider approached through falling snow, pushing his horse hard. The door burst open. A young man Catherine didn't recognize stumbled in, breathless and wild-eyed. "Mr. Thornton, there's been an accident. Dutch." The man gasped for air. "The creek ice broke. He fell through. We got him out, but he's bad, real bad. Doc's with him at the bunkhouse, but he's asking for you. And," the young man's eyes found Catherine, "he's asking for the lady, too. Says he needs to tell her something before." He couldn't finish. Jacob grabbed his coat. Catherine was already moving, Samuel's hand tight in hers. Outside, through whipping snow, they ran toward lamplight, and the old foreman who'd shown Catherine kindness, now fighting for each breath, holding secrets that couldn't wait for morning. Dutch lay on his bunk, face gray as ash, breathing shallow and labored. The doctor worked quickly, wrapping blankets around the old foreman's shaking frame. His clothes lay in a wet heap on the floor. The cold had already done its damage. "Jacob," Dutch's voice came weak. "And the lady. Good." Catherine knelt beside the bunk, taking his weathered hand in hers. It felt like ice. "Don't waste words," the doctor said quietly. "Save your strength." No time for saving. Dutch's eyes found Catherine's. "Need to tell her something. About Anne." Jacob went rigid. "Dutch, not now." "Especially now." The old foreman's grip tightened. "Catherine, that last day when Anne was dying, she made me promise something." Made Jacob promise too, but he's forgotten in all his grief. Catherine glanced at Jacob. His face had gone pale. She said, Dutch coughed, body shaking. She said Jacob was a good man who loved deep. Said when she was gone, he'd try to bury his heart with her. But she made us both swear, when the right woman came along, we'd push him toward living again. Even if he fought it, even if he was scared. Tears tracked down Jacob's face. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly." Dutch's eyes blazed with sudden clarity. "Anne told me, Dutch, don't let him die with me. Promise you'll help him find love again when God sends it." I promised her. And now God sent this woman to the wrong station on Christmas Eve. Brought her straight to your door. And you're going to let her leave because you're too afraid to honor your wife's last wish? Quote, "Dutch," Jacob's voice broke. "She wanted you happy, boy. Wanted Samuel to have a mother. Wanted this house full of life again." Dutch turned to Catherine. "And you, running north to marry a stranger out of duty. Is that living or just existing?" Quote, Catherine's throat burned. "I made a promise. To a man who doesn't know your heart, who hasn't earned your love." Dutch coughed again, weaker this time. "I've watched you three together. You fit like pieces meant to join. Don't throw that away for empty honor." The doctor touched Dutch's shoulder gently. "That's enough. You need to rest." "Needed to say my piece first." Dutch smiled faintly. "Anne would haunt me otherwise." Samuel had been silent until now. He moved forward, hands finding Dutch's face with gentle precision. "You're going to be okay, aren't you?" Quote, "I'm tough as old leather, boy. Just need some warming up." But Catherine saw the doctor's expression, the subtle shake of his head. Dutch was 70 if he was a day, and the cold had taken too much. "Samuel," Jacob said softly, "let's let Dutch rest." "No." Samuel's voice was clear, certain. "We should pray, all of us, right now." And so they did. 4 people in a small bunkhouse, holding hands around a dying man who'd spent his last strength pushing them toward life. Samuel's voice rose sweet and sure. "Dear God, thank you for Dutch. Thank you for bringing Miss Catherine here. Thank you for second chances and wrong stations and prayers you answer in surprising ways. Please help Papa be brave. Help Miss Catherine choose love over fear, and help Dutch know he kept his promise to Mama. Amen." Silence settled soft as snow. Dutch's breathing had eased. His eyes were closed, face peaceful. The doctor checked his pulse, then nodded. "He's stabilized. Sleep's the best thing now." They left him there with a ranch hand to watch over, walked back through falling snow to the main house, Samuel between his father and Catherine, holding both their hands. Inside, Jacob built up the fire while Catherine made coffee. Samuel sat close to the warmth, unusually quiet. Finally, Jacob spoke. Dutch was right, about everything. He stared into the flames. "Anne made me promise I'd live again, that I'd let Samuel have a full life, not half a father trapped in grief. I broke that promise every day for 3 years. Catherine set down her cup, and I made a promise to a stranger, thinking duty was enough to build a life on." "Is it?" Quote. "No." The word came clear, certain. "Duty without love is just another kind of prison." Jacob turned to face her. "I can't promise I won't be afraid sometimes. Can't promise grief won't revisit. But I can promise I'll try. For Samuel. For you. For the life Anne wanted us to have." "That's all any of us can do," Catherine said. "Try. Choose hope, even when it's terrifying." Samuel stood, moved between them with the confidence of answered prayer. "So Miss Catherine's staying?" Quote, Catherine looked at this blind boy who saw more clearly than anyone, at this broken man finding courage to mend, at this cold house waiting to warm again. "Yes," she whispered, "I'm staying." Samuel whooped with joy. Jacob pulled them both close, this unexpected family forged from wrong turns in Providence. Later, Catherine wrote a letter to Silver Falls. She explained honestly, apologized sincerely, and closed money for his trouble. She never received a reply, but she'd made her peace with it. On a bright January morning, the preacher came. Dutch, recovered enough to stand witness, grinned as Jacob and Catherine spoke their vows. Samuel held both their hands, his smile brighter than winter sun. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Jacob kissed his bride gently. Samuel cheered. Dutch wiped his eyes and pretended it was dust. Spring came early that year. Daffodils bloomed around Anne's grave, planted by Catherine's hands and blessed by Jacob's prayers. The house transformed. Curtains opened. Laughter echoed. Samuel learned his letters in Braille while his parents learned beside him. One evening, Catherine found a small wooden angel on her pillow, the same one that had fallen from the Christmas tree. "Anne's," Jacob said softly. "I think she'd want you to have it." Quote. Catherine held it carefully. "I'll honor her by loving you both well." "You already do." Years later, when Samuel was grown and starting his own family, he would tell the story of the Christmas his prayer was answered. How God sent his new mother to the wrong station so she'd find the right home. How a blind boy had seen what broken adults couldn't. How love, given a second chance, had filled a house with warmth that lasted generations. Dutch lived another decade, ornery and beloved. He never let Jacob forget that Anne had been right about everything. On his deathbed, his last words were, "Told you God don't make mistakes." They buried him beside Anne, two souls who'd loved the Thornton family well and taught them that grief and joy could coexist, that moving forward didn't mean forgetting, and that sometimes the best destinations are the ones you never planned to reach. Catherine would stand at that graveside each spring, planting flowers and whispering thanks to the woman who'd loved her family first, and the old cowboy who'd made sure they lived again. The wrong station had led her home. The missed train had delivered her to exactly where she belonged. And every Christmas Eve, when snow fell soft and Samuel's children asked to hear the story again, Catherine would smile and begin the same way. They say God answers some prayers by making you miss your train. Outside, stars shone clear over Redemption Creek. Inside, lamplight glowed warm against the darkness. A family built from broken pieces sat together in perfect contentment, proof that love, given courage and faith, could bloom even in the coldest winter and last forever.